Hey everyone, this is TimeRider with my second submission to the Paint It Pink build, sponsored by Diecast OutKast. You can find his link somewhere down in the description. Go there if you want to watch more Paint It Pink stuff. Both of my submissions will go on eBay with 100% of the sale revenue going to the American Cancer Society. And I had already decided to do a pink Cadillac, which you see here, and I was doing a promo for the build to go on the bench, and I was looking for pink cars. I came across this Hot Wheels offering and thought it might make a cool project for this build and give me an opportunity to schmaltz it up a bit. On eBay, I purchased 2 Batmobiles, which worked out well later, as you'll see. This was the second one that I purchased and will be my project here. It'll look different too, so stick around. So this Batmobile was actually in really good shape. I actually took it out of the bubble. And a Malaysian version, clearly some type of a special edition Batmobile, being gray. And I wanted that windshield. That was really the big thing I liked about this Batmobile. The other one I bought had a blue window. No, this will work out really well. Held together with a couple of posts. The base is plastic. So I'm trying to be really careful here not to cut away too much of the plastic. It's almost impossible not to. I know people say heat them up. I didn't do that. I just drilled it out. And front and back. And I just tried to be careful. I think I gouged a little bit out of the front hole, but nothing worth writing home about. All in all, it was a pretty good casting. I think that it was kind of short on detail because everything had a real round appearance to it. Came apart, and it basically just had an interior piece which included the bat parachutes, and then there's that red window bubbles that I really wanted. I thought would work really well with a pink car. See, the posts need to be cleaned up, but all in all, not a bad car. So I'm going to file these down because, especially with the plastic, because it's not as crisp as metal, you want to make sure that this is, really cleaned up well, so that it'll go back together really easy. Batmobile was designed by George Barris specifically for the television show, and I bet there's a million websites about the Batmobile. It's probably one of the most storied TV cars there ever was. But yeah, it's an interesting car. 1955 Lincoln Futura concept car worth about $250,000. My Anderson oiler. We'll tap this hole out so I can put the whole doggone thing back together. Can almost hear that thing squealing, huh? And there's my button screw. I did both the front and the back, so I just showed you one side. And then the primordial ooze, from which all die-cast life springs. Don't go away. Shake for luck. So as much as I like those wonderful Malaysian Hot Wheels, and I might even use them for something someday, because they really aren't bad wheels. Just not my cup of tea. I have these wheels that I believe I got. They're M2 wheels is what I believe they are, that I think are going to fit much better. So, yeah, these original wheels can go. The Batmobile sold at a Barrett Jackson auction for $4.2 million to some guy in Arizona. And it was subsequently sold privately after that for an undisclosed amount, but I'm sure a profit was made. The paint came off fairly nice. The casting's in really good shape. Like I said, everything seems a little rounded. I'm going to clean it up here and, do what I do. It's not a bad casting. I just don't think it's a particularly detailed casting. The Batmobile, the original Batmobile, was built in October of 1965. And I was 5. And here I am all these years later, doing it again. I like my wheels to roll, even though I know this is probably never going to be a play toy. It's important to me that it's fit for the use for which it's intended, which means the wheels have to roll. But I'm having some clearance issues using the standard axle, which you saw I did there, where I just widened the axle channel. You can see it sitting there, and I'm trying to use that axle channel well. First I'm going to try filing off the casting imperfections, some of which were in the wheel well, and some of which are on other parts of the model. The Batmobile did not have a jet engine. Say it ain't so. Had a 390 Ford. Barris built 4 Batmobiles. Here, these little tips that I bought are just great for doing this kind of work. I would, if you're going to do customs, I'd highly recommend getting yourself some kind of a hard bit like this. They work so good. Anyway, Barrett built 4 Batmobiles. The first one was the real deal, and the other 3 were just fiberglass replicas. The people that were popped their heads out of the buildings for Batman was a real who's who of Hollywood notables. If you watched this when you were a kid, you probably remember that. The one I remember is Sammy Davis Jr., but yeah, they'd be walking up the side of their building with that bat rope. I want to get a good polish on it. The casting's in really good shape. It's really clean. I'm sure it's going to take the paint real good. The details that it does have are good details, so I think it'll make for a good toy. So I like to try to fit things together as I go along for just this reason. I still don't have my rolling wheels. The back are in not too bad a shape, but the front are. What I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to lower the axle, and to do that, I'm gonna have to do away with these original Hot Wheels axle grabbers or whatever, and I have to create a deeper channel in that plastic, which is, you gotta kind of be careful because you don't want to go too thin, and if you do, you have to reinforce it somehow. But boy, these castings are so small that it's not going to take very much. I just have to lower it a little bit. And it's plastic, so it's really soft. Oops, I must have bumped the camera. Then I, cut 1/16 inch aluminum tubing to the length that I wanted, so the wheels had the proper set in the fenders, and super glue and baking soda, and made myself some axle channels, because by God, I want those wheels to roll. So I went to put the thing together, and this post comes down onto the chassis. And another reason why you should try it out as you're going along. And you can kind of see where the post hit in the super glue. So I have to modify that and cut away a little bit of material. That wheel just fell off because of the vibration. It's not broken or anything. So I'll cut it away and make a notch for that post. I don't want to cut the post off. I think the structural integrity of the post is more important. And fit it together. Nice clearances. I think my wheels all roll really well. And here I am at the place I need to be to start putting paint on it. There's my Batmobile. Still needs a spirit bath, but it'll get it. And as my pal down south would say, I'm happy with that. You know, I'm pretty sure that the Batmobile had black walls, but God, I just like the white raised letters so much. But anyway, let's get straight on with it. So, you know, I always believe that the devil is in the details, and these wheels are great wheels, but I wanted to do something to kind of elevate them a little bit. So I decided that I would paint the inserts of the mag with Tamiya clear red. And then I'll clear coat them when I'm done to give it a little bit of protective value. But I think that this will look really good going with the pink on the model. You know, I wish that the casting were shiny enough that I could just do Spectraflame right over the top of it. Maybe someday I'll get into the whole zinc plating thing and I could do that. But for today, this is the Redline Shop base coat. It's just a silver. It's a real fine metal flake silver. I've used it before. It lays on just wonderfully. And yeah, so that's what I'm using for my base coat. I didn't prime it or anything. I just laid this right on the metal. I took some Tamiya clear and I just kind of eyeballed this. What I'm trying to do, I want to create a little bit of gradation and definition coming down the side of the toy, because I'm painting it with that Spectraflame, and I'm going to paint the Spectraflame right over the red. As with any, this is speeded up like greatly, but as with anything, you know, I make sure I get the bottoms. I'm just doing my tack coat here, getting ready to lay on a little more paint. You know, Spectraflame paint it's really easy to work with. I like it. The cleanups, I'm getting used to it. I don't like using solvents all that much, and of course the acrylics clean with just water and homemade cleaner. But these paints, they're stunning. I see why people like them. You know, with Spectraflame, you kind of build up your coats, and you know, until you get to that final wet coat where you wind up with just this wonderful shine. And I'll clear coat it before I finish. Now, the details it does have, I do want to paint. As always, I kind of start in the middle. Hey, here's my last fun fact. There are 3 companies that will sell you either a kit or a turnkey Batmobile if you want to have one for yourself. You know, when I said I didn't think that the toy had a lot of detail, it has to do with how rounded everything is. I mean, I would have really liked to have painted the details around the headlights and the taillights, because, you know, on the Batmobile, the original, they're red, and it really stands out nice. But since these are so rounded, I just don't think it'll work. Here's a TimeRiderism for you. If you're looking for decals and you want, you know, sports team, something a little out of the ordinary, you don't want to print it yourself, use nail decals. Now, They work a little different because they're designed to be pressed onto a fingernail, so they have a sticky side. And they're not as fiddly as a water slide, but you have to be way more precise. But they will lay on contours. Decal sets work really well with them. That's what I got here. Is these are Batman nail decals. The wheels, once I had cleared them, put the tires back on, like I had said earlier, I'm going to do them white raised letter out. There is a black side to this tire, though. If whoever buys it on eBay wants to blackwall it, it wouldn't be that hard. Fiddly business for a big guy with fat fingers. So after letting that casting sit for a couple of days, I was afraid to bake it because I wasn't sure how that decal would react. I didn't want it to bubble or anything. But yeah, you know, put the dome in, put the interior in. This is actually the interior out of my other Batmobile. The original interior in this was black. I like the silver gray better. I went to put it together though, and I couldn't get it to go together, even after all my preparations. And then I realized that the actual interior needed to be modified in both the front and the back to accommodate the steel, or I should say aluminum tubing that I used as an axle channel. But once I got that all squared away, it went back together just how it was supposed to. You know, Paul said the other day on his channel, and he's absolutely right, you know, a good artist knows when to quit. And you know, as you get closer and closer to the end, each thing you do is a greater risk. This is where I decided to leave it. I finally, you know, got it to go together after I did a modification to the back as well. But yeah, each thing you do as you get closer to the end, you don't want to have to start over after you've done all this work. So you really think long and hard about what you're going to do. And here's where I wound up. The Hot Wheels Batmobile. You know, I could have painted a little on the windshield domes, but here's the thing. You know, I had one set. And again, you know, you kind of weigh the risk versus reward thing. And if I screwed them up, that's my only set. So I'd rather just leave those and the interior just the way they are. You know, casting, I can strip that 10 times. Hey, thanks everybody for watching the Paint It Pink. Go to Diecast OutKast if you want to see who else is involved. But, you know, you could also just look around because there's a lot of people doing it. There's like 35 people that are participating in this. And I'm going to have an episode of The Bench after this is over. Talk a little bit more about the video I put on my channel yesterday about the 3 blind mice builds. But again, thank you. And I'll have a link in the description below for the eBay site. This is TimeRider. And I'll leave the light on for you. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around for this edition of The Bench. Say, first off, the votes were in. I gotta draw the line somewhere, and it looks like I know where this 71 is gonna go. And right now, it's gonna go into the stripper. Just like that. But it seems like by a narrow margin, everybody says I need to do Texaco. So that's where I'm going with it. It's going to go to Texaco. Now, I don't want to reiterate what I've already said because I think everybody understood. Really, all it boils down to is we're inviting anyone who'd like to participate in our 3 blind mice build can do so. Shoot us an email if you want to be added in. Next month is the 56 Flash Side Invitational. They're Hot Wheels. Do your best, do your worst, go apocalyptic if you must. Just 2 rules. Same casting, have fun. This is TimeRider. I'll have something coming out in the middle of the week, I'm sure. I hope everybody has a good weekend and go watch some pink stuff.